If you'd like, I'll show it to you. That just we asked the board members a few questions, and you can just maybe get a little familiar with them. Would you like to see it? Let's go ahead and roll that.
The old board has been associated with the past, and the past has been failure. The new board brings hope.
The new group of people on the Apple board are all computer insiders. We've all been in the computer industry.
Everyone knows that the computer industry changes at the speed of light. Now we have people who clearly can help us articulate and understand where the niches are, where Apple can compete and successfully win.
So a lot of times we try to focus on ourselves, re-engineer ourselves internally, and we forgot sometimes who pays the bills. It's the customer out there pays the bills.
One of the things that bothered me years ago was when they raised prices. I thought that was it made me think that Apple didn't understand the outside world.
I think Apple needs to worry less about competing with Microsoft and worry more about doing things that are different. That's back to innovation. It's back to creativity. It's back to vision.
No one's really going to believe Apple can be successful until we get the revenues and the costs back in line, and that means we got to start growing the revenues again.
Companies have to look at everything they're doing and determine what are core competencies, what are the core parts of the business.
In a sense, Apple is trying to do too many different things. We need to focus on a handful of things and do them really, really well.
Well, I was on the Citicorp board in 1991. The price of the stock was $9 a share, and there was many negative articles being written about Citicorp was going bankrupt. The price today is $130. Mainly because we did the fundamental things that were necessary to focus on the customer and focus on having a highly successful business.
At Chrysler, we had to take nearly $4 billion out of the cost structure to get Chrysler fully competitive, particularly with the Japanese.
I've seen this at DuPont, I've seen it at IBM, I've seen it at Citicorp. The success starts to generate additional success.
Well, the confidence has to start with a clear vision. What are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to do? You take that vision down to a strategy. People have to look at it and say, yes, they can do that.
When a company lacks the energy, you can't do anything to the company. So I think with Steve and the new board members, first thing we need to do is inject tremendous amount of new energy, new thoughts.
Apple has very strong positions in two market segments. First, education, and secondly, creative content.
What other computer system has 20 to 25 million loyal, enthusiastic, committed users? Just building on that base, recapturing their dedication and strength because we're bringing out great products.
Whenever you have a strong position in a market segment, you can capitalize on that.
Apple's the only lifestyle brand in the computer industry. It's the only company that people feel passionate about. My company, Oracle, it's a huge company. IBM's a huge company. Microsoft's a huge company. But no one has incredible emotions associated with our companies. Only Apple is really a lifestyle brand.
And companies can spend billions of dollars to build a brand. Apple does not have to do that. It's already been done.
The important thing is to build products that are wonderful and, or as Steve would say, insanely great. And it's time to start building insanely great products.
The biggest thing you can do is go out and buy a Mac.
Do I use a Mac? Absolutely, I use a Mac. I have 3 of them in my home.
I've been using a Mac since 1984, and I'm not about to stop.
I probably own every single machine that Apple had ever produced, and I can tell you, no one can change me in terms of personally what machine I will use. It's got to be a Mac.
As you can see, this is a pretty diverse group of people, a lot of deep industry expertise who come together to say, hey, this world's a lot better place with a healthy Apple computer in it. Okay, next, market focus. Yeah, I can't get anyone to tell me the definitive market share number for Apple, but it's around 7% from all I can gather. And the question is, where is Apple relevant? Where is Apple still the dominant player? Which market segments? And there are two. The first one I call creative content. It's publishing, design, pre-press, etc. It's creative professionals using computers. And what's interesting is Apple is still the dominant market leader for creative professionals. By far. It's like 80% of the computers used in advertising and graphic arts, design, pre-press, all Macintoshes. And 64% is the best number I could find. 64% of all internet websites are created using a Mac. It's amazing. But we haven't been doing a good enough job here. As an example, there is something like 10 to 15% of Mac sales which can be traced directly back to people using Adobe Photoshop as their power app, right? When was the last time you saw Adobe and Apple co-marketing Photoshop? You know, when was the last time we went to Adobe and said, how do we make a computer that will run Photoshop faster? These things haven't been as cohesive as they should have been, and I think we're going to start proactively focusing much more on how we do these things. The second market is one that's very close to my heart, is education. Apple put the first computers in education. Apple did it again with the Macintosh. And Apple is still the dominant leader in education. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Who is the largest education company in the world? Who's the largest education company in the world?